Hello, my name is V-Sin, and this is a snapshot of Muramasa Rebirth. Now this game came out for the PlayStation Vita on June the 25th, 2013, and this is a port of the Wii game. Now, this game originally came out on the Wii, not too many people really knew about it, so they said, okay, let's port it to the Vita. Oops, that's a cutscene. Give me a second here. There we go. I'll just go where I left off from for now. Now this game is a side-scrolling action RPG. No, it's not really Metroidvania. I mean, you do have to collect certain items to continue, but it doesn't really affect your combat ability, at least. So let's just take a look at this first. So when you first start off, you have the playstyle Legend and Chaos. Legend is basically easy, Chaos is basically hard. After you beat the game with both characters, I believe, there's a mode where you play the entire game with 1 HP. Which is pretty darn crazy. I'm gonna play on Chaos here, because I'm just used to playing it. Now what you have here are the story of Momohime and the story of Kisuke. You see that I've already completed the story of Momohime. I'm gonna go through the story of Kisuke. Hopefully we'll get into the boss fight before I end this video, but otherwise, I'll just take you through this for now. So, here we are. This is Muramasa Rebirth. This is, again, because this is by Vanillaware, this is heavily based on a 2D art style with minimal 3D, if any. Like I think like at most you have, for example, particle effects that are rendered in 3D, but that's about it. So let's do the usual thing. Menus. Go down to settings. Nothing too special down here. It's basically audio, on or off. Playstyle, Legend, or Chaos. You can control it from here. Key config, you can see that you can remap all these keys down here. So yay. Of note is that you have press the stick to jump and roll the stick in order to evade. You have the option to toggle these. In particular, using the left stick to jump is something that people who have played, say, Smash Brothers may recognize this. As for crouching to evade, I prefer to leave this particular option off, just because sometimes if you're panicking a little bit too much, you will accidentally evade in the wrong direction and then bad stuff will happen. And that's about it. So this is, again, press up to jump is mostly for people who are used to other games where you press up to jump. Otherwise, there's always the jump button that you can use. Let's go. Oops. Here we go. Abilities, I'm not going to get to that right now. Right now I'm going to go into items. Now, recover items, they recover stats, basically. You can see here, these increase HP stats, status effect curing, etc. Now, what you may also see are two other stats, Spirit and Fullness. Those are two special stats. Spirit is actually needed for the crafting system. Basically, you have to keep eating stuff in order to craft things, which is an interesting system, but whatever. And then there is Fullness. Fullness affects how often you can eat things. Fullness decreases over a course of real time. You have some modifiers that can affect it. And your fullness must reach 0 before you can eat another item that requires fullness. There are also other items, like, for example, this Dragon Elixir. The special thing is that even though it gives you no spirit, it also does not require fullness to be at 0 in order to eat it, nor does it increase fullness, so you can just spam these out when you need them. They're also really expensive if you try to buy them, but whatever. Let's go. Supplies. Supplies are basically consumable items. You can use these in combat. Basically return all these whetstone items. These restore sword spiritual energy. Spiritual energy denotes their durability, and durability affects both your ability to use the special attack and affects how long you can block attacks with the sword. I'll have to get into that later. And this item here allows you to escape battles. Ingredients. Ingredients are used for cooking. I'll have to show you that in a second. Blades are all the swords I have right now. Accessories are all the accessories. I'll show you those two in the item screen. And books, it's mostly just collectibles. But these basically unlock various things. So, campfire chow, culinary arts, Epicurean arts, etc. Those are cooking recipes that allow you to cook various other types of food using the ingredients. And then the maps just full reveal the map without you having to explore it manually. These aren't mandatory. In terms of the game, these aren't the maps are not mandatory, but they're very convenient. That's about it. So let's get into the cooking screen. As you see here, you have all these various options because of all the recipes I have. Now, there are two types of cooking. There is item cooking. You cook an item that you can use in battle. And there is a dish that you just cook and eat on the spot. So you can see that these three at the top, you have the ×3, ×2, ×0. Now, the ×3 means that I have 3 of those items, whereas being selected in white means that I can now craft it, whereas selected in black means I don't have the crafting items. So I'll cook some roasted squid. Press the cook button, and now you get treated to this, I don't know, cutscene, I guess. Fun story. Originally, this was supposed to be a Wii U minigame. Not Wii U. Wii minigame. But then they ended up changing it, and it just becomes a button mash. So you can see it just sitting there. I push the button again. The squid shows up. Push the button again. It cooks a little bit. Push the button again. It fully cooks. And push the button again. And there you go. I have squid. And push the button again to finish. That's about it. If you want to go through it in the proper speed, you mash the button as quickly as possible. And there you go. That's a cutscene. You may think, oh, that's pointless. And to an extent it is, but there is actually an achievement involving where you have to beat the game in 3 hours. And that right there actually affects how quickly you can finish the game. So that is of some importance, but otherwise you just get to look at a fancy looking food cutscene. If you want to look at something a little bit more interesting, simmered pheasant, can I eat? Whatever, I'll just eat anyways. You see, here are the other cutscenes. You can see you eat. And then your character makes a little quip. By the way, because that just came up, the entire game is voiced in Japanese. There are no English voices, and it is translated in English for all the subtitles, text boxes, etc. However, all of the text boxes come with Japanese voice acting, which is pretty interesting. Even all the random NPCs in the world. The map is the world that you've explored so far. You can control this with the left stick or the left pad. You can see these are all the various places that I've visited so far. This is the area I'm in right now. And then you can move the cursor around and see various places of where everything is. Yay. Just quickly for the map icons, this basket looking thing, when it's orange, it means that there is an item there that I have not collected. When it's dark like this over here, this means that it is an item I have collected. Most of these items are fairly trivial, although some of them in some parts of the map are actually interesting or good pieces of equipment. This one over here, the 3 dots with a line going through them, I think that's actually supposed to represent Dango. This is a, well, Dango store, actually, most of the time. Other times it's just a generic restaurant. This is where you can buy food from a restaurant and it'll increase your life, fullness, and spirit as per normal. This yen symbol over here, or coin, this is a store. Stores you can buy ingredients, regeneration items, and books, as well as some of them have equipment, etc. Selection changes from store to store. I mean, there's actually one store in the game that will only sell you pieces of tofu, for example. And then this thing over here, the shrine icon, this is a save point. Also down here, oh man, that's hard to read. But the one on the left, the white-looking fortress, the fortress sort of thing, or maybe it's a cave. It's really a cave, but that is a, how should I call it? A side encounter. That is, after a certain point in the game, when you unlock the ability to open a certain type of door that corresponds to the color of the cave, then you can access it and fight whatever the hell it is. Some of them are wave after wave of generic enemies. Some of them are mini bosses, etc. The one to the right of it, it's a little bit hard to see. Let's see if there's another one on the map here. Nope. All right, I'll just have to go with it. It's basically a oval with 3 curvy lines rising up from it. That is a hot spring. Hot springs increase your HP to full. They also restore all spirit energy to your swords. And I'm not sure if it's rare occasions or random occasions, you will get a short event with some other character. Sometimes it's a person standing next to you in the save area. Sometimes it is with your counterpart. So for example, if you are playing Momohime's story, you will occasionally run into Kisuke in those hot springs. And if you're playing Kisuke's story, you will occasionally run into Momohime in the hot springs. For Momohime's case, also occasionally Jinkuro will have some crazy quip or whatnot. Well, let's get out of this map. That's pretty boring. Item shortcut. This is basically items that you want to use in combat. Let's slot Sake into there. So these are the items I can use in combat. You have a maximum slot cap of 5. You can pick whether you want to use whatever type of item, health, conditions, etc. But again, in combat, you are restricted to 5. You cannot access the menu while in combat. Equipment. Equipment is you can equip up to 3 swords. Now, there are 2 types of swords. Sword and long sword. The main difference between the 2 swords is the damage per hit, at least for swords of that level, is lower on the sword and higher on the long sword. But in return, the swing speed of the sword is much higher compared to the long sword. That is the main difference. All swords also have various special effects. Actually, let me start over. Let me just go through all the stats first. Look at the bottom of the screen. Sword, Blade of the Divines. Attack, Secret Art, Effect. Now, attack is the attack value. The attack value is just determined by the sword. And even though I said on average swords will have lower attack than long swords, if you, for example, say, take a look at the Blade of the Divines here, compare it against Heavenly Mist. See, let's see, Sword of Autumn Rains. You see, Sword of Autumn Rains has 99 attack, whereas Blade of the Divines has 104 attack, because it's a higher level blade. All the blades that you get as you progress in the game will gradually get higher and higher in damage values, special effects, blah, 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 blah. It makes me feel a little bit sad because there are some blades that just have effects that you want to use because they're fun, but you can't really do it because it takes forever to kill stuff. A little bit sad, but eventually as you go further and further onto the game, when you hit the level cap of 99, which you don't hit before the story ends, by the way, eventually you will have all the effects you want. In this case, though, again, next stat, Secret Art. Secret Art is when you press the Secret Art button, in my case I've bound it to circle, you unleash a special effect. The special effect depends on which sword you're using, and it will essentially do something. Now, I'm not being very specific about that, am I? Do something. What the hell does that mean? It means a lot of things. Some of them will make you spin around and do multi-hit damage. Some of them will fire projectiles. Some of them will are just like a dash attack, which moves you across the screen, etc. It depends on the blade. And finally, effect. Effect is, for the most part, it's all passive. Now this one is auto recover 1. It means I slowly regenerate health over time. Resist fire means I take less damage from fire attacks. There are all, again, various other passive effects available throughout the game. Some of them are status immunity, etc., etc. Chaos Mask. This is my accessory. Accessories just increase stats, basically. The main thing, though, about the accessories is that if you increase your strength and vitality, here's the other stat at the bottom of swords. Required strength 43, vitality 42. The thing about that is that you require a certain amount of strength and vitality in order to wield a certain blade. Sorry. If your stats are below that value, then what you can do is use accessories to bring up your stats in order to be able to use those weapons. You also have status protection from these, as well as this experience point booster. This is Absorb Life 1. So these basically just give you either stats or special effects. That's about it. Forge. Now this is... I would honestly call this a skill tree, even though it doesn't look like it. This is basically the forge. What you need is spirit, which spirits are what you collect from either randomly out in the world, or you collect it by killing opponents. And then... Oh, sorry, that was backwards. Spirit is you get it from eating stuff. Soul is from collecting soul items in the world or killing opponents. That's basically how it goes. These are required to craft items. And what you can do is eventually you can go down here, and as you collect more and more souls, you can eventually craft more items, which will make you deal more damage, blah, blah, blah. Now, can I actually use this over here? Nope. If you can't use the certain blade, then it'll give you this prompt. If not, you can just go straight into it. You can just press yes. This, by the way, is an infinite loop. You have to press the button again, and then eventually you say, okay, I got the Raging Inferno sword, and that's the sword I have. After you get a certain blade in the tree, you can see that it unlocks these 3 options below it. And then you just keep going on and on and on, collect more souls, collect more spirit, get more levels, etc., etc. It is grindy, but there is a caveat to that. Abilities, it just shows you what everything I explained previously, which I could have explained it through the screen, but this basically just shows you all the stats. Now, one of the interesting things about combat in this game is that the combat actually scales to your level. That means that if you're technically under-leveled for a certain point in the story, what you can actually do is you can still run in, fight a boss, and it will scale itself down. However, if you were over-leveled, you will actually scale. The boss itself will actually scale up. Also, these random encounters out in the world. Crap, I hate bombs. Okay, where the hell is this guy? Up here. Sorry. If you're over-leveled, the encounter will scale up. So basically, the level curve is more or less exact. It means that you are not punished for, say, rushing through the game, aka the 3-hour playthrough, but at the same token, it also means that you don't have fancier swords with special effects. Although if you're doing it on the crazy playthrough, then, well, you actually won't use too many of the special effects because your sword is actually your health bar. Now, it's a little bit hard to show since I was kind of trying to commentate while... Oh, come on. There we go. I was trying to commentate while fighting, but... Essentially, what you can do with your sword is you can do all these various attacks. Basically all your attacks are done with a square button, as well as tilting the stick in some direction or another. That was terrible. I hate bombs. Now you see there that the blade broke. The blade will break if you either block too many attacks with it, well, really just block too much damage with the blade. Bombs. Did that hit anything? Yep, that hit him. I hate these guys too. Like everyone says, it's really hard to commentate while playing. Oh well. Well, they just get rid of these guys first and they'll start chatting again. Stop running around! Let me hit you! And... yeah, there we go. There we go, finally. I guess that's item. Alright, there we go. Now, where the hell was I again? Oh, right. Basically, when you can either block or do effects... I still haven't done an effect, have I? Oh, well. Let's just cut this barrier and move on. So you see this barrier here? What you can actually press the square button here, even though normally in order to interact you have to use the interact button. Because I don't know, this actually shows up as circle being the interact button, but for North American Vitas, the default interact button is actually X. So because this is a Japanese Vita, and that's how we got it. This is a cutscene, but you can skip through it with the interact button, and there's no real point in watching it. This is also a new area that I haven't visited yet, so if there are spoilers, and there is a spoiler right on the screen there, sorry. That's about it. It's not too much of a spoiler, hopefully, at least I hope there's not too much of a spoiler. Even though this is like near the end of Kisuke's story, so... Oh, there's the item. Oops. There we go. Also, there is a double jump in this game. You also have the option to fast fall by holding the stick down, as well as crouch, etc. So, no encounters anywhere. While we're just running around here, I might as well bring it up now. One of the faults of this game is most definitely backtracking. Even though fights can be really fun, and I haven't been able to show you a boss fight yet, but hopefully I will be able to show you one. Which way am I going? Down. So, oops. What the heck is it? Oh, great, more ninjas. Whoa. That's a lot of damage. There we go. Projectile attack. Roll behind you. Projectile attack, draw sword, inverted pillar. Another attack. Take this. Okay, finish the last of you off. Air combo for style points. And those corpses can't be hit anymore. Okay, neat. So, which way was it? Left? Oh, damn it, I went the wrong way. Oh well. Let's see, so... Can I go up this way? No, apparently not. Okay, so I have to go up here. Log is here. Jump across the log. Is there anything up here? Would there be? No. Okay. I have to go this way. Now the map says then pass the shrine and then go down from that point. So let's bring up the mini-map again. As you can see, I'm also pretty OCD about souls because souls are actually pretty hard to come by. Okay, let's see here. There you go, there's the item. Now, traveling throughout the world isn't too bad. Let's just save for a second. Save points also regenerate all your health. Let's see, what else do I have to cover? I don't know, not too much, really. I suppose I could just fight more ninjas, but I don't know, I want to show the boss fight if possible. Get these guys. Meteor 2. Meteor 1. And that should do it. Yay. Alright, now go down here and go left. Oh right, I was about to bring up backtracking. Now, there's an issue with backtracking in this game. Just traveling around, it's pretty interesting, random encounters and all that good stuff. But the problem with the backtracking is that a lot of the time it's really excessive. I mean, you basically go through a long, extensive area, fighting through enemies and all that good stuff. You get to the boss, you get a great boss fight, and then you have to walk backwards the entire area. I mean, seriously, the entire thing. The very first fight in Momohime's story, you immediately run forward for a set distance, fight the boss, and then run back the entire way you came with without fighting anybody. Like, there's nothing interesting to see. It's just kind of there. Where the hell am I? Also, one gripe I have sometimes with fighting enemies, especially airborne ones, is their tendency to fly off the screen. Now, I'm not talking about, say, for example, off the view of my screen. I'm talking about this guy off on the right, or a guy's above me who just simply, I cannot hit them because I cannot travel to that part of the screen. Like, you can see, and even a lot of the time you notice that I just can't see myself. Now, there are some parts of the game, like, for example, when you were in the river area, River Mountain, I think, where there are leaves obscuring your view. Okay, that makes sense. That is a gameplay decision. But when I'm flying off the screen higher than I can possibly see myself, that's a little bit hard to handle. And I end up spending more time blindly guessing where I'm trying to swing as opposed to actually swinging at stuff. Now, mind you, I'm not especially good at this game. I mean, I haven't attempted the crazy mode, where you basically have to flip out and never get hit ever, or block everything. But it's still annoying to have stuff fly off the screen, not just in places where you can't hit them, like, for example, if they're behind a rock and you have to move around the rock. But this is, I cannot physically hit them ever unless I guess and hope that they're there. And it also makes it harder because then you can't react to anything because it's happening off the screen. Also with these guys, you just draw your sword like that and it just kills all of them in one shot. Pretty neat. It is a gripe, but it doesn't change how fun the combat is. Like, even if you're not particularly good, and I'm not particularly good at this game, it's still a fun game to just fly around. It's like a very fancy brawler. It's a very fancy brawler, and it's very fun like that. Combat honestly handles pretty tightly. I'm just not, again, it's a bit of a messy demonstration, but it's a very tight combat system. It does what you want it to. For the aerial dash attack, you just hold down the button and tilt side to side in case you got slightly confused by the tutorial. You can do that up to 3 times, it tells you in the tutorial, but other than that, what you also have is all the special moves. You have the blocking system. Perhaps you didn't notice it, but you can also slash projectiles to deflect them, although that, unless you do it with perfect timing, it also causes your blade to lose durability. And overall, it's just a very in-depth combat system. The bosses are also amazing. Absolutely amazing bosses. Not even kidding about that. Like, seriously, the bosses are absolutely amazing in this game. It's a bit unfortunate that I haven't been able to show you a boss yet, but seriously, the bosses really are a highlight of this game. Absolutely. They're just that well made. And overall, I would say, you know what, let's just get to the conclusion. Would I recommend this game to you? Because at the end of the day, what you're looking for is value, right? And what you're... Okay, the average play time for your first playthrough will probably be around 6 hours for each individual. So that's 12 hours base. What you then have is the 3-hour challenge modes. There's also a post-game where after you beat both of Kisuke's and Momohime's story, if you noticed on the map here, you can see that white shrine-looking thing. Actually, let's go straight back to it. You see this? This is not unlocked by acquiring mid-story swords. This is unlocked in the post-game after you've completed both storylines. Then you can access these. So there is a post-game. There are also certain areas in the game which you cannot access until you have completed both stories. So there's quite a bit more playthrough there. Then, of course, there are these tree stumps themselves, which are also more content. And there is apparently DLC that just recently came out in Japan, although who knows when it'll ever come to North America. So it is actually a very good value proposition. So would I recommend this game? I would say yes. Like, unless you absolutely despise this sort of aesthetic, this is a really, really good game. The art style, I personally love the art style. It does an excellent job of showing off 2D art, much like many other Vanillaware games, while still providing in-depth combat, strong frame rate. The frame rate never drops. At least I have never noticed the frame rate dropping in this game. I will say that much. And overall, I would have to say this is probably one of the best experiences on the PlayStation Vita, especially when you consider that you can't really find this for the Wii anymore. So TLDR, this is a fun game. It does what you expect it to. It is not quite Dragon's Crown level of replayability, but it is not grindy. You get a nice story. Also, the story has multiple endings depending on certain factors. And the boss fights are an absolute treat, even though I didn't get to show you any. So TLDR to the TLDR, buy this game. It's great. My name has been B-Sin. Thanks for watching.